The other night, I was driving in the center lane of a 3-lane city street when all of a sudden a car comes into my right blind spot and almost slams right into me. I look over and I see the car swerving in and out of the lane, braking abruptly. I honk and I look over to see if the driver is possibly distracted, and I see that the man is drinking something out of a brown bottle. The man then drives up to my side and is screaming at the top of his lungs. No longer wanting to get involved with this person, I then make a lane change to the leftmost lane to try to get away from this car. I can still hear him screaming though, so I turn on my rear view camera and I see the man swerve across 2 lanes from the rightmost lane just to get behind me. He then starts speeding up as if he's trying to ram into me from behind. Once I see that he's inches from my bumper, I decide to run the red light that I'm now stopped at and make a right turn in front of the 2 lanes of traffic beside me in the hopes that, at this point, he'll just leave me alone. I look at my rearview camera once again and I see that this man is now following me, yet again trying to hit me from behind. I panic and I speed off on a side street, but when I look back, he's not letting up. He's swerving in and out of the lanes behind me and doing his best to keep up. Off in the distance in front of me, I see a freeway on-ramp, so I speed over in hope of losing him on the freeway. The on-ramp has 2 lanes that then merge into one. I pass a car prior to the merge, thinking that that car will create a natural buffer between me and the man chasing me. When I look back into the camera, I see that the man is now driving on the shoulder, near the brush on the side of the ramp in order to pass the other car and catch up to me. At this point, I'm driving close to 100 miles an hour, literally scared for my life. So I slow down just a touch and dial 911. I explain the situation to the dispatcher as best as I can, and she recommends that I try to get away to safety. Of course, that's what I'm already doing. But as this is all transpiring, the man catches up to me and begins coming up to the side of me on the freeway. He repeatedly tries to swerve into me as if to ram me or run me off the road. I slow down, thinking that maybe, just maybe, he'll pass me up, but he slows his car down too. This is when I first notice someone that I think to be his wife in the passenger seat, as she tries to chuck a bottle at my car. As it smashes into my windshield, I momentarily lose visibility, as my car is now covered in a brown, foamy fluid. I think to myself, surely this is the extent of his road rage. And I look over and it seems as if he's continuing on the freeway. Ready to get away, I then pull off on the next freeway exit, thinking that I can just leave the situation. As I do this though, the man sees me and makes a 4-lane change onto the exit ramp, again trying to ram me. And then I'm forced to speed through the city streets, and I finally end up at a red light trapped next to him. I look over at the man because there's no ignoring the situation as it stands. He's screaming at me. "Why the f did you honk at me, you bitch? You're trying to make me look like a bad father in front of my kids? You want to go, bitch?" His wife is now also yelling at me, saying, "Why would you honk at him in front of our kids?" I look into the back seat and I see 2 children in car seats. Since I'm on speaker with the dispatcher, she hears all of this and tells me to just try and get away. At this point, I'm done. There's nothing I can do and I just want to get away from him. So I make a U-turn to head back on the freeway. He follows me yet again, almost hitting a construction barrier to do so. He's back on the hunt and is trying to hit me from behind. Once I get onto the overpass to get on the freeway, I glance at him to the side of me and I see he's holding something up in my direction. Suddenly, I hear a very loud. In that moment, the dispatcher on the phone screams, "What was that? Are you okay?" Thinking that I've been shot, I start screaming, "He's shooting at me! He's shooting!" Realizing that running away isn't working, I stop and the man speeds off. Luckily, there's no broken glass and I'm not injured in any way. The dispatcher then tells me to pull off to a nearby safe location, so I head to the parking lot of a nearby mall. I tell the dispatcher the make, color, and model of the car, as well as a partial license plate. The whole time I drive there, I'm concerned that the man could be following me again. I mean, after all, there were plenty of natural breaks in our chase, and he resumed every time. But they sent an officer over to file a police report. While I'm waiting for the officer, I realize that my car's cameras are always recording, so I hit the save button. The officer comes over and I tell him my story, describing everything that I can in detail. I also tell him that I may also have footage of the whole thing. We take a walk around my car, and for the most part, there's no damage. The officer then informs me that because I'm not injured and because there's no damage to the car, there really isn't anything that can be done. I ask him if it was an assault. He says because the bottle hit my car and not me, that it wasn't. I ask him if it's reckless driving. He says that out here in California, reckless driving is a misdemeanor, and one that requires the presence of a CHP officer in order to even intervene. I then ask him if it could be considered attempted murder because he was trying to ram into me. But he says that this is just plain old road rage, and there's not much that can be done. At most, the officer says that once he has a complete license plate, an officer can go out and talk to the man. I ask him if the potential footage could be helpful in getting this man reprimanded in some way, and he tells me to only send him the highlights and necessary screenshots, though he doesn't think anything can be done. At the end of all of this, I'm extremely shaken up. I eventually make my way home and review the footage captured by my car. Luckily, I do have the entire thing recorded. The moment he almost hits me, his wife throwing the bottle at me, his face as he's yelling, his license plate, even him trying to repeatedly ram into me, it's all recorded. A few days later, the officer calls me and confirms the license plate that I have in the video, with a recording that he has from the freeway on and off ramps. A week and a half has passed since then, and there's been no update. While I understand the law is the law, it's unacceptable to me that this man could be so overtly aggressive on the road, threatening my life, the lives of his own children, and the lives of everyone else on the road with no sort of punishment. I was genuinely scared for my life, and in the process, both he and I endangered the others on the road. Ultimately, this has left me feeling very disappointed with the system. An act of violence was committed, and due to technicalities, the other driver just gets off. I'm trying to keep my retelling as factual as possible, but this was a really terrifying experience. Even in the past few days, I still feel a bit hesitant about doing normal things on the road. Passing people in the left lane, changing lanes, and I'm definitely not comfortable honking at this point. I really wish I could say that this didn't get to me, but it has. One odd detail is that the man was taking pictures of my car before the bang happened. What would he possibly want that for? I'm here to ask, has anyone else been in a situation like this? Is there truly nothing that can be done? Any recommendations for how I can at least have someone check on those kids? Like I said, I have full footage of everything. The only thing I'm lacking are answers. So it's taken me a while to decide to write all of this down because this story has multiple parts that may or may not be connected. It might be a long one, and it's a little anticlimactic as it's not as creepy or traumatic as some other stories, but it's taken weeks for me to get a good night's sleep since Ronald Simmons came banging on my door. Here's the setup. I live on a little dirt road in southern Ohio, which sounds rural and farmy, but it sits right up against a complex of subsidized apartments and a major thoroughfare for the area. It's this weird mix of transients and longtime residents, young families and lone elderly people. One house might be meticulously kept and maintained, but then the neighbor might have a jet ski in the yard and a tree wrapped in chicken wire as a makeshift cage for their pet parrot. That's not a random example. It's a real thing here. I've lived here for nearly 10 years, and for more than 9 of those years, it's been just my daughter and I. She's 10 now, but I still don't like to let her play in the yard alone. And I'm obsessive about keeping our doors closed and deadbolted at all times, even when we're just chilling at home. I keep to myself and don't ask questions or cause any problems. I'm an introvert whose primary goal in life is to leave and be left alone. Then Tom moved in. So imagine that the neighborhood is kind of laid out like a 4-rung ladder. I live on the 3rd rung, and going left or right takes you to a road that leads to the aforementioned main thoroughfare and exits the neighborhood. Tom moved into a house near one of those exit roads, just a few houses down from me, on the opposite side of the street. which I was wholly unaware of until I was out in my yard one day a few years back, and a passing car slowed and the window rolled down. Now, I've had sketchy experiences with scammers and solicitors in the neighborhood before. There's a whole other story about a group that tried to convince me to get in the car and take money out of an ATM for them. So now I'm highly skeptical and suspicious of any strangers that want to just stop for a chat. Plus, I've never seen this guy before. He's heavy-set, salt and pepper hair, heavy-lidded eyes, probably in his 50s at least. I was 26 at the time, so he had to be around twice my age. So Tom slows the car down, rolls the passenger window down. He says something, but I can't hear him, so I take a hesitant step closer to the vehicle, hoping that maybe he's just asking for directions. "Hey girl," he says, and all my hackles immediately go up at the positively greasy way that he says the word girl. I'm Tom, just moved in down the street there. "Oh, okay. What's your name, honey?" Now, calling me honey is usually a great way to royally piss me off. But there's something about him, even in those first few moments, that set off alarm bells. Sometimes it's not a big deal to tell a creep to fuck off. But other times, there's a voice that goes, "This one is a time bomb. Do not set him off." So I tell him my name in the hope that he's just being neighborly because, hey, maybe he's a nice grandpa who hasn't gotten the memo about using girl and honey. It's Southern Appalachia. He wouldn't be the only one. But then, here it comes. "You got a boyfriend?" I think every woman probably has that little, oh God moment every time this question gets asked by a rando. And I'm so taken aback and still trying to figure out the interaction that I just say something in the negative. Because it's true. I don't have a boyfriend. For a good reason, actually. I'm gay. But at this point in my life, that's still very private information, and I don't feel obligated or inclined to provide that detail to him. "You should let me take you out sometime," he says with that Appalachian twang. "We can have a few beers." At this point, all of my skin is crawling, and I decline as politely as I can. He persists though, and the interaction feels like it takes a lifetime, but I'm guessing it's only 10 to 15 minutes before I successfully inch my way back to my front door, making some excuse to go back inside. I was hoping that would be the last time I would have to talk to Tom, but of course it wasn't. For weeks, it seemed like every time I stepped outside, there was Tom in his car, slowing down to talk to me about this or that, but mostly trying to convince me to go out with him. "When are we going to go out to dinner? You going to let me buy you those drinks?" I always said no, as politely as I could. It was annoying and stressful, but manageable. Then things escalated. I'm sitting at home one day and there's a knock at my front door. I don't have a peephole or any means of knowing who's at it without sticking my whole damn head into the front window. So mostly, I just don't answer the door unless I'm expecting someone. If it's someone I know, they'll call me on my phone or announce themselves at the door. So I just let the knocking go. But then my doorbell rings, and there's more knocking, and more knocking, and more fucking knocking. So finally I'm like, maybe the neighbor's house is on fire or something. I don't know. I answer the door, and it's Tom. "Hey girl," he says with that slick, ominous grin that doesn't quite reach his eyes. "How you doing today?" I want to tell him to go fuck himself, but now more than ever, my instincts are telling me to not make him angry. He's clearly not afraid to push a boundary, and he lives basically just 2 or 3 houses down. All I can imagine is him going home, stewing over my insult, my rejection, and then only having to walk 2 minutes to get back at me. So I make the conversation as short as possible, decline all his advances, once again, as politely as I can, and deadbolt my door as quickly as possible once he's gone. He starts coming around at least once a day, though, and I stop answering the door. He persists with the knocking, pounding loudly and angrily on the door when I won't answer, but I'm not going to voluntarily engage with this dude in any way. One day, I'm sitting on my living room floor working on something, and the knocking starts. I ignore it. It gets more insistent, more angry. Then he calls my name. But he can't prove that I'm home, so fuck this guy. And then he tries the handle of my door. I always deadbolt it, thank God, but the actual door handle is typically unlocked. So I was sitting right there, not even 3 feet from the door, when I saw and heard it turn violently. If it hadn't have been deadbolted, he would have walked right in and found me sitting there. I probably should have called the cops then, but I had never called the cops on anyone before. It seemed so extreme. He went away shortly after, and I just let it go. So stupid looking back on it. Another day, I'm out mowing my lawn, headphones in, when I look up and, wouldn't you know, here comes fucking Tom. I can't get away from this dude, and it's starting to make me feel absolutely trapped. Yeah, of course he wants to talk, and because I'm a non-confrontational moron at that time, I stop mowing and pull out my headphones. He tells me that he can help me with the mowing. A pretty girl like me shouldn't have to mow her own yard. All I gotta do is come down and ask him. He tells me how he helps out Eric all the time. Eric lives 2 houses down from me, almost directly across from Tom. And Eric is a constant, habitual public drunk. He doesn't bother anyone, just staggers around his yard, hangs out on the couch in his driveway, and feeds the stray cats. Which is problematic because it means we have a booming population of feral, half-mad cats running amok. But I feel for the guy. I'm an animal person myself, so I get it. I've seen Tom and Eric together sometimes, and I guess they're friends. Tom says he mows Eric's grass and he can mow mine too, but I've never seen Tom mow anything. And besides, holy shit, man, just leave me alone. He goes on to say that he sees me driving by his house sometimes. Yeah, there's only 2 ways off this street, and the shorter route is past his house. So I have, by default, driven past his home. But I won't anymore. Never again. I'll take the long way if it kills me. I decline his help. I decline. I start to avoid being outside at all costs. I usher my daughter as quickly as I can to and or from the car. I carry groceries in as quickly as possible. Even then, though, he can see me from his house. And as I'm rushing toward the door, I'll sometimes hear a loud, low wolf whistle, and I'll look up to see Tom waving at me. I usually pretend that I don't see or hear him, and deadbolt the door as quickly as I can. At some point in the following days or weeks, I order a pizza. When there's a knock at the door, I answer it instantly. For a bewildering second, I can't figure out why my pizza man is shirtless. But it's not my pizza man, is it? It's Tom and his enormous bare beer gut. He's swaying a little, and he leans in against my door frame, pushes a piece of paper into my hand and explains that it's his phone number. He asks again if I've got a boyfriend yet. At this point, I'm desperate, and I feel like it's a bad idea to just blurt out, "Dude, I'm a fucking lesbian." For one, I feel like this won't deter him. In fact, I feel like it might just piss him off and make me a target for some homophobic shit. In fact, it might just make me a target with the whole neighborhood, which sounds extreme. But the first year I lived there, a guy was beaten to death just up the street. He wasn't gay, and it's a longish story, but I always stayed aware that violence wasn't an impossibility here. Plus, I don't have a girlfriend either. It's just me and my daughter all the time, and I just need this dick to leave me alone. I've never met someone who so completely put me on edge. I kept thinking how easy it would be for him to just push past me into the house. I could see him doing it in my head. There was this constant feeling that he was just on the verge of moving, or pouncing, more like it. So I just lie to him and say that, yes, I have a boyfriend and we're very happy. Thank you. So much hetero bliss. He grins that dark, greasy grin again and he says, "I ain't seen no man around here though." He's watching me and my house, watching who comes and goes. This and the fact that he's actually trying to challenge my lie makes my blood run cold. Like it's a game to him, because he doesn't say it angrily, he says it like it's cute. Like he's caught me against the wall. Like I'm prey and he knows I'm defenseless. I mean, I'm not defenseless. Even as I'm imagining him pushing his way into the house, I'm also imagining what I can use for a weapon, planning to go straight for his eyes, his nose, the groin, all the greatest hits. I wouldn't go down without a fight, that's for sure. But I make up something stupid like how my pretend boyfriend is in the military and he's away right now, but we're very happy. And no, I don't want to have any of the beer you're carrying with you for some reason. He launches into a litany of questions about my pretend soldier boyfriend. How many trucks does he have? Is he good looking? Do I think Tom is good looking? Does he take care of me the way Tom could take care of me? Is Tom good looking? Tom has 2 trucks, you know. He could take care of me. Is my boyfriend a black guy? The last question shuts me down entirely and somehow makes me both more scared and more pissed off. I already know he's a creepy piece of shit, but now he's a racist, creepy piece of shit. The guy just keeps getting worse. I rebuke him again and I tell him I have to go. He says, well, what your boyfriend don't know, that won't hurt him. I make Tom leave. He comes around periodically for a few more years, leaves some gifts at my door at some point, an old doll and some kind of toys from his garage. I think they were for my daughter, but I just threw them away. It seems to go on forever and I debate calling the cops again. I keep thinking that he's just right down the road, and if I call the cops, it's going to become a whole thing. It might only escalate it more. What are the cops going to do? They can't be there every fucking day, and he hasn't even done anything criminal yet. I don't really have a legal leg to stand on. But eventually, gradually, he leaves me alone. Thank God. I think he may have gotten a girlfriend. Maybe. I don't know. The whole thing has taken place over the last 4 or 5 years, but the last several months, maybe 12 to 18 or so, have been pretty quiet. And I can only assume he'd moved on, or away, or gotten the message, or all the above. I barely even see him. But cut to about 3 weeks ago. I'm sitting on my couch late in the evening, around 10 o'clock, when I hear a noise out on my sidewalk. I pause and listen, and then someone turns my doorknob. It's deadbolted like always, thankfully. I'm alarmed now, and that's when the banging on my door starts. I can't see who it is, but I know I'm not expecting visitors. The banging turns frantic, urgent, but I wait. More knocking and knocking and knocking. I think maybe it's my parents. Maybe something's happened to my dad. He has a history of heart problems after all, but why wouldn't they call? Why wouldn't they, right now, just call out and announce who they are? Then I hear a low male voice say, "Man, f*** this bitch." Oh, shit. Now, more knocking and turning in my doorknob. Knocking even on my window now, the one just beside the door. I'm scared, but I also know for sure that I don't know who it is and I'm not opening that fucking door. It also made me kind of mad. Like, me? Fuck you, man. Coming up on my sidewalk and banging on my door while I'm trying to play some Animal Crossing? So I go to the door and shout through it, demanding to know who's there. He calls back. "Nikki, it's me, Ronald Simmons. I've got Eric's beer, let me in." Okay, for the record, my name is not Nikki. I don't even know one, let alone a Ronald Simmons. And Eric lives 2 more houses down. Clearly, this man just has the wrong house, and the situation should be easily cleared up. "Look, I don't know who you are," I tell him through the door. "You have the wrong house, though, and you need to go." But he just bangs on the door some more, insists that he doesn't have the wrong house. "Come on now, Nikki, stop fucking around and just open the door. It's me, Ronald Simmons. I have Eric's beer." He yells at me, tries the door again, bangs on the window in an absolute frenzy. "My name isn't Nikki," I yell back. "You have the wrong house, and you need to fuck off or I'm calling the cops." He just keeps shouting and banging, calling me by the wrong name, begging me to just open the door. He keeps repeating his name, his whole name. Ronald Simmons. "It's me, Ronald Simmons. I have Eric's beer. Open the door, just open the door." We go back and forth for what feels like an eternity. But by this time, my kid has heard the commotion and is freaking out. I'm not sure if this is going to escalate, but he definitely isn't listening to me, and he doesn't seem to be going away. I'm freaked too by how he keeps begging me to just open the door. maybe he doesn't have the wrong house at all and is just trying to get me to come outside. Tom also comes to mind because he and Eric, they're friends, remember? So even though I don't want to, even though I've tried to avoid it for years now, I call the cops. I tell Ronald Simmons that I've called the cops and everything goes quiet for a moment. I think maybe that was enough to make him go away. I explain to the operator what's happening and they instantly dispatch someone. The operator asks if the man is still out there, right as Ronald Simmons begins banging on the door and windows again. Yeah, he's still here. I think he's confused, but he won't leave. No, I don't know him. His name is Ronald Simmons. No, I don't know what he looks like. I can't see him. No, I'm not going to put my face in the window. He's still hitting the window. You need me to look? To get a description? Fuck. So I pull away the curtain and then lift away the heavy, difficult Venetian blinds, but it's pitch dark and my porch light doesn't work. All I can see is a bicycle ditched on my front sidewalk. I hear a woman shouting, and it's difficult to make out, but it sounds like she's yelling at Ronald Simmons, telling him that he's got the wrong house. I think it might be one of my immediate neighbors, but I can't tell. It doesn't stop him either. He tells her to fuck off, and he keeps yelling at me. As this lifetime continues to pass, along with the awareness that some intruder is just one wall away, is overwhelmingly surreal. I can hear him pacing up and down the sidewalk, talking to both me and himself. It feels like maybe he's searching for an entry point, but I can't tell for sure, and all I can really do is listen. I explain everything to the operator as it's happening, and it really doesn't take very long for the flashing lights to appear on my street. I hear officers calling out to Ronald Simmons, and then an exchange of dialogue, but I'm still not opening that damn door. It's hard to make out all the words, but I distinctly hear an officer say, "So, why are you out here bothering this nice lady?" Finally, someone knocks and announces that he's one of the police officers. When I finally do open the door, the said officer asks a few questions. Did he try to actually break into the house? I mean, no, but he kept trying my door like a maniac. He was looking for Eric's house down the street. Yeah, I know. He wouldn't stop saying it. I tried to tell him he had the wrong house, but he kept arguing with me. Is this your bike? No. Okay, we'll make sure he leaves with it. You have a nice night now. I have no idea what happened from there. No idea if they just took him to Eric's house or what. I saw the man briefly, standing in the headlights of the cop car on the road, talking to another officer. This guy was skinny, hair buzzed so short as to be nearly non-existent, clothes a little too big. Can honestly say that I've never seen Ronald Simmons before in my life. I assumed that they didn't arrest him. I guess he hadn't really done anything criminal, but it still took hours for my heart to slow down and the adrenaline to wear off. I didn't sleep. I just kept waiting for Ronald to come back, or for something else to happen. In the morning, my daughter and I went outside and found that one of our planter boxes on the porch had been demolished. It was kind of old anyway, and probably just got stepped on in the scuffle. I left it alone because it felt weird to touch anything to do with Ronald Simmons. It took several more days for me to finally gather up the scraps and throw them away. It's been 3 full weeks, and yesterday my daughter says, "Mom, didn't we hide our spare key under that box?" Ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you that my soul left my fucking body, she was right. Our old hiding spot had been really high, and it was pretty hard to access, so the last time we'd used it, I just tucked it under the planter and forgot to move it again. But when I cleaned that box up, it wasn't there. I checked the shrubs and soil nearby. I checked the entire porch stoop area. I checked and checked and checked, but I couldn't find it anywhere. Now, maybe, hopefully, it got thrown away with the box. Maybe it's just in the shrubs or the grass or something and I couldn't find it. But I changed the locks that day, just in case. To beat it all, after a long, long period of nothing, I was going out to my car one day this week and heard a loud, low wolf whistle. It's Tom, waving at me from up the street. Again, I pretend I don't see him and just get in the car. There's some more unsettling things going on that are kind of their own stories. like the teenage kid who lives behind me who keeps throwing random toys and household items into my yard from his second-story apartment window. There's also the 2 times this past month that I've been woken up by what I'm fairly certain was someone tapping on my bedroom window in the wee, dark hours of the morning. But Ronald Simmons, that man really freaked me the fuck out, and it's left me in a constant state of vigilance. Living basically alone lends a certain amount of nighttime paranoia, but now I'm always wildly fluctuating between 30 and 99% certain that someone's in my house, or just outside my house, maybe both. It doesn't help that it seems like Tom, who still lives just down the street, might possibly have some involvement here. Or maybe Ronald Simmons was just some random, drunk, high, confused dude, and I'm blowing everything out of proportion. Either way, for the love of God, Ronald Simmons and Tom from down the street, let's just not meet again, okay? I've wanted to share this story for a few months now, and being that it's currently 4:30 a.m. and I can't sleep because I still have residual fear that someone is lurking in my apartment, I thought I would hop on here and share. To set the tone, I bartend and had an awful night at work. I have thicker skin and can handle myself relatively well, but I'd been sexually harassed by a man at the bar I worked at earlier that night. After he was kicked out from my establishment, I decided to stick it out. I took a moment to call my dad and talked with him. We agreed that so long as I was physically safe and emotionally ready to finish my shift, that I should do just that. My boyfriend waited up for me in our shared ground-level apartment despite having worked a full day himself because I was really upset about the comments made to me earlier in the night. To help you visualize, we were laying in bed. Our bed is in the middle of the bedroom against the back wall, and we were lying with our heads where our feet normally were. The TV was no longer playing anything, but still on the media screen, with all the apps like Hulu, Netflix, HBO all listed, but nothing playing. He had his hand on my back, and he had just fallen asleep. I could tell this by his breathing, finally allowing the discomfort of the night's earlier events to begin to fade. That's when I heard it. The faintest words, or word. Hello? I froze. I felt the milliseconds within the second expand. In a matter of moments, my eyes darted to the TV, to my boyfriend, to my phone, and I thought, or more likely desperately hoped, that I'd experienced some type of auditory hallucination. That I was more tired than I had realized. But then I heard it again, clear as day, coming from my hallway. Hello? But it wasn't loud. It was low, quiet. Checking to see if I was asleep. At least that's what it felt like upon reflecting. All at once, I realized I could see a figure in my hallway. In that same moment, I realized the voice was coming from a person who did not belong in my home. I haven't forgotten this feeling. The time of the break-in was 4 o'clock. As I'm typing, it's now 4:44 a.m. I can count on one hand the amount of times I've fallen asleep before 4 a.m. since this incident, and I've woken up at around 3 a.m. if I do happen to fall asleep before 4, just to make sure everything's locked up. Hence this post. I just can't sleep. Anyway, I scream with all of my heart. I screamed. My boyfriend jumped up, awake, confused, now yelling himself. He threw open the bedroom door and there was this intruder, standing and just staring in the darkness. We didn't know what he wanted. We honestly still don't know. My boyfriend pushed him, told him that he needed to leave. It was a Saturday night, and we live a 25-minute walk from the bars, which may seem far, but isn't as far as you think. We both just assumed that this was someone coming home from the bar, probably inebriated, and he likely had the wrong apartment. That is, until he coldly and calmly said, "I'll leave," and turned around. But not towards the front door, but towards our sliding glass back door that has an enclosed patio right outside of it. This man slipped out so silently and so quickly before he hopped the 4-foot fencing. At that moment, we decided not to call the police because I was hysterical, I was confused, and in that haze, I had convinced myself all they had was the wrong apartment. It wasn't until we talked about the situation to more people that it was clear there was something more nefarious afoot. And to this day, even though I'm wickedly sleep deprived, even though I have this now ungodly fear that there's someone lurking in the dark recesses of our home, I'm glad that we didn't come face to face with whatever that person had planned that night. If I were to go the rest of my life without hearing that same hello again, it'll be far too soon.